Huseyin Alptekin, he is an assistant professor at the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Istanbul Şehir University. He's also a researcher at the SETA Foundation. Thanks so much for coming in. I'd like to speak a little further about what Nicole was referring to there and the comparison between this operation and Operation Euphrates Shield. That also put Turkish groups on the ground in Syria. It was a very successful mission. How do you think this operation could compare to that?
As of today, this operation looks less ambitious when we compare it to the Euphrates Shield operation, because in that first operation from the August of 2016 to the March of 17, I believe, Turkey entered across the border with combat forces. It was a clear cleaning and sweeping operation against the Daesh forces settled there for quite a long time, and also against possible YPG attacks. But this time, at least the general staff explanation tells us that at least this very first stage of the operation is merely a reconnaissance operation. So it is something between surveillance and monitoring. And now Turkey seems to keep a distance from hot conflict.
Right.
Turkey is not interested in starting a combat mission as of today.
Do you think that's sustainable? Can Turkey maintain seeing its troops in a combat role here while they are on the ground in Syria itself?
It is sustainable as long as all the involved actors, all the involved parties see their true interest. Because if you remember from the Aleppo conflict, a hot conflict, a combat in a city in this size cost thousands of lives. So I believe the rebel factions, from the terrorist organizations to the more legitimate actors in Idlib, I believe they got some information on the possible side effects of starting a combat. As long as there is no armed resistance from inside Idlib, I believe both the Turkish forces and also other involved parties, such as the Russian Air Force, will maintain the peaceful situation there.
Okay, but can Turkey, with the help of Russia and Iran here, actually eliminate those al-Qaeda-linked groups, those other terrorist groups that it would like to take out? Can they eliminate them from Idlib province, or will we be looking at actual negotiations with these groups?
I believe a negotiation process is inevitable. Militarily, it is possible to eliminate al-Qaeda-linked groups or other rebellion groups that do not associate with Turkish forces. But on the other hand, it's a big city. And now the news from the ground tell us that the population of the city and the surrounding areas reached up to 4 million people. And starting a military operation in such a crowded geography will cost many, many lives. Eventually, the al-Qaeda-linked groups can be eliminated, but with a huge human cost, which Turkey does not intend to do, which Turkey is trying to keep a ceasefire mission now and to de-escalate the tension, not to escalate it. If you remember the Astana talks, the mission is to de-escalate it, not to escalate the tension, quite the opposite mission. So I believe as long as the local resistance groups, the rebel groups, and particularly the Tahrir al-Sham, as long as they can see the true interest of every involved actor, and as long as they can see the side effects of the operation, they will shy away from a war process that will have no hope for them to win over.
And let me ask you, moving forward, how this will work with U.S. interests in Syria and the fact that the U.S. continues to back the YPG, which Turkey clearly sees as one of the terrorist groups on the ground in Syria.
As long as I can see, the United States will try to stop, will try to prevent and preempt a hot conflict between the Turkish forces and the YPG, the PKK-linked YPG forces in Afrin. But now the United States is not on the ground. It's in the eastern side of the Euphrates River. So its capacity, its potential to change the game in the west of the river is quite limited. So all it can do at the moment is to hope that Turkey and the Afrin groups, the YPG groups settled in Afrin, will just not trigger a conflict. But on the other hand, in the longer term, it seems unavoidable, because Turkey will not and cannot tolerate the PKK to gain ground, especially in such sensitive moments. If you remember from the past experience of this war, anytime an opportunity emerged, the YPG gained ground. when we see the conflicts between different rebel groups, between the Daesh and other rebel groups, between the Daesh and the Assad forces, any conflict, any opportunity created a vacuum for YPG to expand its territory. Okay. So now Turkey will obviously limit such an opportunity from the beginning.
Okay. Huseyin Alptekin, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your insight.